political consultant and former senior congressional aide to Republicans. Thank you for joining us. I realise it's very early for you, and I think we had some problems with connections and things. Great to see you. Rina, just get straight to it. What does a Republican presidency with Donald Trump as the president, what does that mean if he's in office next January? What does that mean for the world?
If Trump were to re-enter the White House, not only would we see a lot of anti-constitutional actions, we would see probably the most un-American presidency in my lifetime, particularly modern American history. I just don't know anything we can compare it to, because what Trump has already done is told the American public what he wants to do. He's talked about jailing his opponents, which is something we've never heard of. He's talked about revenge in many ways. He's walked back his comments about being a dictator again on day one. But a lot of these actions that he wants to take are the type that we really are not sure about. So again, it would be chaos and a lot of uncertainty
But a lot of that,
about how.
but that's what's happening at home. Now, of course, what happens at home in America does have an impact on the world. But in terms of the foreign policy, what he's talked about, this whole, like, there'd be peace, he'd end all the wars on day one and all of that stuff. What policies has he said he'd pursue? What in terms of his relations with people like Putin, Xi Jinping? Interesting, of course, his close relations with Israel. I think that would be reassuring for the Israelis in their battles with Hamas and Hezbollah and everyone else. But what has he said about what he's going to do on international policies?
Well, you can look to Trump to be consistent only in that manner. Whatever he would do at home, he'd do abroad. Again, keep people on their feet, keep them guessing, not be entirely descriptive about how he wants to conduct himself, because that's how his administration dealt with foreign policy. It was a patchwork sort of attitude, and it was what Trump felt that day when he woke up that morning. And so that's
Now, is
what I
there a
really
strength
believe.
to that? I mean, I kind of laughed at a lot of that at the time when he was president first time around. Is there a strength in being unpredictable, as in no one's quite sure? And we've had some inside stories from White House staffers about how, literally the last person who speaks to him is the one who pretty much, convinces him of a particular policy, and that some of the things he wanted to do, even some military chiefs were pretty scared about.
Well, it's the madman theory essentially at work. And that's what I heard from a lot of his supporters, not only in 2016, but again in 2020. They liked that he kept our allies as well as our adversaries guessing. They thought that that chaos kept our enemies on their feet and therefore was better off for America. So that is how he really convinces people he's best at the job, because he has that sort of ability to not be conventional. And I'm not so sure it'll work this time. We are embroiled in conflicts around the world in ways in which I could not have predicted. After Joe Biden pulled us out from Afghanistan, these geopolitical tensions have really started to have an impact on the American psyche and how we see our place in the world. Can Trump enter through that doorway again? I don't know.
Well, no,
I
but this
actually
is the
don't
interesting
think so.
thing, because every American president of every political hue gets elected on an American first ticket. He's not, Donald Trump wasn't the first to suggest this. And actually on a fairly isolationist, I don't want to deal with all those foreign wars, nothing to do with us. American taxpayers don't want to pay for it. But America's standing in the world is based on America's economic might and its absolutely huge military might that dwarfs any other country on the planet, by a long way. And there's no point having that if you're not willing to not necessarily using it, but being willing to use it. Obama, of course, red line in Syria, he totally undermined American credibility for, I would think, years to come. We've already seen the Americans sort of, basically saying to the Israelis, well, we said you had a right of self-defense, dealing with Hamas in Gaza, but it's all getting a bit embarrassing. So, it's terrible loss of lives of children in Gaza. So we'd like you to kind of stop it now, please. I mean, we're already seeing that. We're not seeing a really firm line being taken with Vladimir Putin until too late after he invaded Ukraine. No firm line really on Xi Jinping in China and his threats to Taiwan. No clear statement. You go anywhere near Taiwan, we are going to take you on. We haven't got America, actually, basically making clear that it will use its military might where necessary to protect the free world.
Well, I think Joe Biden, given his foreign affairs experience, is unwilling to be and willing to be so strong in that way. I think at this point, not only in his life but in his career, he wants to be more measured. That's just not something you're going to get with Trump. That's the complete opposite. Trump displays a lack of understanding as to how our military works on a regular basis. Let me remind folks that one of the first things he did was ban transgender Americans from serving in our military. So I think when you talk about those who will surround Trump, and should he win a second term, you're not going to get the best of the best. You're going to get people with really limited understanding of what it means to get ourselves in and out of global conflict. You're going to get people who are rookies, who are real novices, and who are purely loyal to Donald Trump because that's what he demands. When it comes to criticizing Putin, comes to criticizing Xi, I think this is the real situation in which you just don't know what Trump is going to do. Is he going to praise dictators again?
Yeah.
Is he going to use that as a strategy to perhaps make America look strong again? There are so many things that have to happen in order for America to regain a place of strength when it comes, whether either militarily or just as an ally anymore. And I'm just not sure that Trump has even proven in any way he's up to the task. He's Joe Biden's junior by 3 years. Let's not forget, if he were to take office, he'll be older. And like I said, I don't trust the people who will be around him that they have a firm grasp of any of this.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'm not keen on the sons or the daughter being involved at all, I have to say. Rina Shah, thank you. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. US political consultant there, Rina Shah. Chris Parry, a former Rear Admiral, retired Rear Admiral, is still with us in the studio. Just a quick reaction to what she had to say.
Well, she doesn't know any more than we do.
I
mean, she doesn't know, and that's.
I don't think Donald Trump or his people. We had enough insider accounts of people who'd been very loyal to Donald Trump, and they said they had no idea what was going on themselves.
And that is his real strength.
You think that's the strength?
My worry is that I think the totalitarian powers will be ready for that unpredictability this time, and they'll test it. They're already testing it. We're in crises that are being provoked. Russia in Ukraine, Iran in Israel and the greater Middle East. Xi Jinping will be all over the South China Sea this year. And I think North Korea will press on to South Korea. And it'll be a real test in an election year of, A, what Biden has got and what Trump has got. But I would say, to what she said, it can't get any worse in terms of international relations. So a change as good as a